Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of the Spurs Chat podcast. Of course, in this edition, we'll be talking about Tottenham's trip to Old Trafford, Manchester United 2, Tottenham Hotspur 2. We had to come back twice from behind. Bentancur and Richarlison getting the Tottenham Hotspur goals. Højlund and Rashford scoring for Manchester United. Debuts for Werner and Dragusin today. And Ange Postecoglou has just come out and said he was proud of the effort from the team. As usual, I've got three very special guests to talk about today's game. Back with us is channel regular Craig Dearman. Craig, how are you?
I'm all good, Chris. Yeah. It was, you know, I don't know what everybody else thinks. We'll get into it, but it was kind of pleasing to put in not only a good performance, I thought, at Old Trafford, but actually come away with something for once. I know we conked them during COVID, didn't we? But it's not been a happy hunting ground. So when you take everything into consideration, which I'm sure we'll get into, yeah, it's not too bad, to be honest with you. I'd have took that. So, yeah, not bad at all.
You're absolutely right, Craig. We've only won Old Trafford 4 times in the Premier League era since it started in 1992. So, you know, certainly with all of those injuries out today, I'd certainly have taken a point. Also back with us is Kimberley Chambers, of course, best-selling author. Kimberley, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. And yeah, I agree with Craig totally. Like I was, you know, I'm a bit doom and gloom. It's like a bogey ground for us, Old Trafford. And as you said, I know we had the one decent result there, but I just was expecting, for some reason, whenever they play us, someone usually plays a blinder, you know, and gets an hat trick or a brace or something. And I was thrilled with the performance today. You know, obviously we should have won it, but still very, very pleased with what I saw.
We will certainly get into it all. And also back with us is channel regular, radio presenter, TV presenter, Russ Williams. Russ, how are you?
Very good. Thanks, Chris, Kimberley, Craig, everyone listening and watching. Thank you for having me. All in all, a good sort of early evening's work at Old Trafford, I thought. A lot to be extremely positive about. A couple of little negative bits we'll come on to later. But these are, you know, I think the point I'd like to make, Chris, at the very beginning of the show is a lot of these players who played today, a handful nearly, wouldn't be playing normally. And look how they slot in to what Ange wants them to do, and they get it up here. And, you know, I have to say, I've been a real big critic of Ollie Skip, but I thought he was really good today overall. And, you know, full credit to him. And they were all great, you know. I mean, I'm disappointed we didn't win, but you can't have everything.
Well, let's have a look at the Premier League table because Spurs remain 5th in the Premier League table. We've now played 21. We've won 12, drawn 4, lost 5. We've got a goal difference of plus 13. We have 40 points. We are 5 points away from top spot. Of course, Liverpool lead the way at the moment. Ange Postecoglou in his press conference the other day said that Spurs are title contenders. I'll get your thoughts on that later on in the show. Now, the match stats, Manchester United had 36% possession, Tottenham 64%. Shots, Manchester United had 9 to Tottenham 16. Shots on target, Manchester United only had 2 to Tottenham 6. Corners, United had 8 to Tottenham's 13. And fouls, United 8, Spurs 5. Now, before I get all of your thoughts on the game, let's hear from Ange Postecoglou. He spoke in his press conference straight after the match.
Considering kind of the challenges we had sort of putting the team out there today and difficult place to come and play. Obviously a big game for United as well. You know, win today sort of would give them some momentum. We got a goal down pretty early, and this group of players just every time they've had to deal with adversity, just do it in an outstanding manner, and couldn't be proud of them. I thought a standing effort. I thought our football was fantastic. I thought we were unlucky not to win the game, but irrespective of that, the performance and the effort that the boys put in was first rate.
Russ, let's come to you. Ange Postecoglou said their fantastic football, is extremely happy with the point. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, I mean, for 2 reasons. The one that I said at the beginning of the show, that every player in the squad buys into the system and what Postecoglou and his coaching staff want to do. And secondly, let's be really honest about it. They're a pretty bang average team with 2 or 3 pretty good players, United, but their season has been dreadful. And with a full complement, I think we would have almost certainly beaten them today. So we can take a lot of heart from that. But I think we did play some really good football today. I mean, defensively for both goals, they were both really good strikes of the ball, clever from Rashford. I thought that we probably could have done a little bit better, especially conceding so early on. But this team are not phased, are they, guys? They just go, okay, we're a goal down. They moan at each other, and Vicario usually is the one who's the biggest moaner and shouting at people, and quite often he's right, I'm sure. And then we just buckle down and get on with it and play our football. And the possession stats, all of those stats you put up there, Chris, stark how much better we were. And, to go to Old Trafford and dominate the ball, have nearly twice as many shots as them. And that's just for starters. I think it says an awful lot about where this group of players is, and without 4 or 5 of our best players as well. I mean, it really is very, very encouraging, I think. And I've said it before on here with you, Chris, and I'm sure some of your listeners and viewers will remember it. It's next season, I think, that we are going to be such a dangerous team. But Angie's right. I think we are in the mix.
It is amazing, Russ, isn't it? The fact that we were today without Asuma, Sarr, Kulusevski, Lo Celso, Maddison, Son, Solomon, Perisic, and we can still play like that. Ange is still trusting in a lot of these players, and they're delivering for him. Yeah.
Well, he gives them confidence just by his very demeanour, the way that he speaks. He's got a sense of humour.
Craig, let's get your thoughts on this evening's game.
I said before I was quite pleased with the point. Having said that, it's slightly tinged with thinking we should have won, to be honest. At the end of the day, though, like I said before, you get a point at Old Trafford, then you've got to be happy. Werner makes a debut. I thought he did look like a player. I know we'll get into the players soon, but I thought he did look like a player that had been out for a little while. First half, kind of took the easy ball in. I wanted to see him taking on his man because he was against Dallo, and he would have absolutely rinsed him every time. And in the second half, it was good to see him actually going on the outside and getting a cross in. And of course, he got his assist, which is great, and that you would think hopefully only get better. But it's like you said, Chris, with the amount of players we've got out, with the flu or cold or whatever it was that kept Kulusevski out, absolutely ruining the squad during the week. When you take everything into account, the players we've got out, and still put in a performance like that, dominate at Old Trafford, dominate possession, dominate the shots, it's pretty unbelievable, really, when you think about it like that. Because there was players playing today that wouldn't get anywhere near our best first 11. So it's quite remarkable what Angie's doing and how we've got through this period. And my word, if we can get a few players back for the Man City game, which I know we'll come on to, but we get through that, you've got to be looking up, hopefully. And just goes to show, if we'd won that Villa game, which we should have done, swap positions with Villa, we'd have been a lot nearer the top, even though we're not far off now. So amazing, really.
Kim, let's get your thoughts on this evening's game.
Well, it's going well for me. They're saying about near the top. I'd rather be where we are now. I don't want to hit the top too early, Chris. I want to do it at home to Arsenal with, not so many games to go. I think it's April we got them, isn't it? But no, today's game, I just thought we did so well. Considering, I don't know what bug was going around there. I didn't even know that with the squad had suffered from sort of some kind of illness until Kulu was sort of ruled out, and it came out in the news then. But I mean, there's got to have been other players that were affected by that earlier in the week. I think they did marvellously. It's just when I saw the bench, I thought it looked, obviously a bit weak. I think we had 2 keepers on it, didn't we? And I thought, oh dear, I think because we've had such bad luck with injuries as well, you just worry every time someone goes down. Or I was a bit worried about Werner, where he hadn't played so long. I thought, God, you know what I mean? You don't want him pulling an hamstring. Perhaps that's why in the first half he didn't try to roast people as much as what he perhaps could. But I thought everybody did well in the end. I thought Ollie Skip, as I think Craig said, had a good, or Russ said, had a good game. I thought in the first half defensively we looked a bit lapsed, but the 2 goals were taken very, very well, But I mean, it's gutting really when considering they've had 2 shots on target and they were the 2 goals. They've not, they've done not much else. But I mean, it's not as we touched on earlier. It's not been a lucky hunting ground for us. I think, was it Pedro Mendes that time? Ever since then, and ever since I remember, really, we've always had a bit of unluck where someone's played a blinder up there and against us. That maybe they haven't done that for many numerous games before, and we come up there and all of a sudden they turn into Pele, So really, I was happy if that last minute goal would have gone in. I'd been absolutely gutted, So I'm just glad, really, we came away with what we came away with. But yeah, onwards and upwards. I'm really confident about the rest of the season.
Although they played, it was actually Skip and Udogie who were sick this week as well. And Ange also confirmed it was 2 or 3 others. Kim, how do you feel, or how did you feel in the last couple of days when you heard Ange Postecoglou come out and say that Spurs are title contenders? How does that make you feel?
Well, I mean, it's such a weird season. There's no one really running away with it. Obviously, I think City are going to get better now De Bruyne's back. The difference he made when he came on yesterday. So they're going to have a real push now, I think. But nobody's really I don't think there's anybody in that league on our day with our players that's better than us, if I'm perfectly honest. And I mean, he's a miracle worker at big age to do what he's done and change us around that quickly from the style of football we was playing to the way we're playing now. The man's a magician, I've never known a manager to come in and have such an impact in all the years. And I've been a big Spurs fan since 1977, not taking away what Keith Birkinshaw done or Poch or even David Pleat in part of his tenure. But he's just magic. This guy's just magic. I mean, he's unbelievable. And as you said earlier, the players are buying into it. You can see they're buying into it. I think perhaps they were all so sick of playing the way we play. They can, it looks like, and I think the character of the players he's bringing in, it's not just about how they play. It's about their character, and you need that. You need someone who's going to turn up on time, that wants it as much as you do. Do you know what I mean? And it looks like he's going for players, not just for their potential or for their skills, but also for their personality and will they fit in that dressing room. And I think that's really important as well.
Russ, same question to you about Ange saying that we're title contenders. Do you think that Spurs have got enough to push the likes of Manchester City for the title, or do you really think it is all about next year and going for the title next year?
I think the chances are it is about next year, but we're in a really good position. It's football, but it's a horse race. If you look at the table, isn't it? And at the moment, we're coming round Tottenham corner, and we're 5th or joint 4th. And how many times do we watch somebody in the derby just kind of burst away and just nick it at the end? I mean, you never know. I do believe, and it was interesting after the game that Ange spoke when he was asked, they said, are you going to have success here? And he said, it's a long, dark tunnel and we need to start seeing the light and we need to get to the end of the tunnel. And I hope that we can. And I think that we're all on board with that. But nobody expects us, I don't think, realistically, to win the Premier League. And that is where the pressure is off, really. I think a lot of people in football, other fans, are in the camp, next season, they're going to be trouble, sort of thing. And let's see. I mean, if we could beat City in the FA Cup, big if. But De Bruyne can only, in his own words, play 25 minutes. So he's not going to be a nuisance for the entire 90, probably. If we could beat them and then, home game against Brentford the following Tuesday and win that, players back, it's a springboard. I don't want to sound too happy-clappy, really, but this is what Ange does to us, doesn't he? Because I looked at that team today and I thought midfield were in big trouble. How wrong was I? How wrong was I? And probably a lot of other people as well.
Russ, there's nothing wrong with happy clappy at all. Andrew's done a great job in these last 6 months, and long may this continue. Craig, how do you feel about Ange saying that we're title contenders, and what more do you think that we need to do in this transfer window to perhaps get there?
I mean, Russ has used a horse racing analogy. I'll use a golf analogy because I know Russ likes his golf as well. It's a bit like you're going into the back nine at Augusta on a Sunday and we're 4 down going into the turn, and we've got Rory McIlroy and a prime Tiger Woods ahead of us. We've got to make up 4 shots, but anything can happen on the back nine at Augusta on a Sunday. So, it's not beyond the realms of possibility. Do I think it's achievable? Yes. Do I think it's probable? No. I think we're probably ahead in the project where they wanted to be. I think we've got to be realistic, but dare to dream, Ange has got everybody believing. And I think, what I totally agree with him, we are in a title race from a points perspective. I don't think any of us are that deluded to think that we're going to win it. But my God, I think we're going to give it a good go. And nobody's really running away with it. City, obviously they've got Haaland to come back, and De Bruyne looked very good when he's come back in his little cameo yesterday. Liverpool still look good. Obviously, we've got that mob down the road. I think we're easily capable of finishing above them. Villa haven't had their blip yet. So I think Gary Neville said on Sky, he said, I think Spurs could push for 2nd or 3rd. And they were actually being quite complimentary, even Jamie Redknapp, about Tottenham. Gary Neville did say it might do us a favour to go out of the FA Cup, and Jamie Redknapp actually said no, they need a trophy. So the fans want a trophy. I'd take a trophy all day long. Have to agree with him, But Roy Keane said, why not do both? So people are saying good things. So look, it is achievable. As for the transfer window, I think Ange would probably want one more, perhaps a midfielder, and then you can look at whether you want to let Højbjerg go or even loan Skip out. I don't know. If we can get one more midfielder in, remember you've got Sarr and obviously Bissouma and others to come back. Kulusevski was desperate to play today, but he just wasn't well enough. So that's another big miss today. And like Russ said, looking at that midfield, I was a bit nervous because I didn't see where the creativity was coming from, but we got through it. And I looked at it today and I thought, am I disappointed not to get a win at Old Trafford? Yes, I was a little bit disappointed, but I'll take the draw. But look, if you'd put out our second string, if you like, or a vast majority of our second string over the last 2 or 3 years, we'd have got walloped today. And that's the key. That's the difference. And that comes from good management, good training and belief in the players. So all in all, I am a happy clapper Spurs fan at the moment. And if anybody wants to disagree with me, that's up to you. But I'm quite happy at the moment.
Yeah, well said, Craig. Can I come round you and just ask you very quickly who was your man of the match today? Craig, let's start with you.
Oh, do you know what? Bentancur got it, but big shout, Strikers Union for Richarlison. I thought he worked incredibly hard today. He really, really put a shift in. So for me, I would say I can't choose actually between Bentancur and Richarlison. Look, I'll give it to Bentancur because I thought he was outstanding in the middle of the park, but Richarlison for me really running close. What about you, Kim?
Yeah, same. I think Bentancur as well, but I think Romero had a really good second half, and I thought Van de Ven he's just a great player. I was really impressed considering he's been out that length of time to come back. I know the first 2 goals, the marking weren't perhaps all round, but I thought Van de Ven did brilliantly again when he came back. He's just he's been out a long while. He couldn't have been match fit, you know, just from the training. And I think Ange would have liked to put him in against Burnley, you know, for 20 minutes or something. I think that was said. But like, you know, I think he did marvellous when he come back. I think it's out of them and Richarlison, Bentancur, but Romero was brilliant in the second half as well. I was really impressed. There wasn't really anybody that had a bad game, I don't think. You know, I think they all played well.
Russ?
Well, obviously, Bentancur got it. I think Rodrigo played really well. I thought he finished his goal off beautifully at a great time in the game. I really thought Pedro Porro overall played really well again today. And, you know, he's so lethal from those, you know, corners. And Ryan Mason is obviously he's the attacking set piece coach, isn't he? And Jedinak, I think, Milej Jedinak is the defensive one. They're both doing a good job actually at the moment because, you know, we're looking pretty dangerous, aren't we, from corners? And I thought Richie's header was absolutely brilliant. I thought he was a nuisance, held up the ball well, but I think on balance, I'll just go with Bentancur because let's not forget he's only just back really from quite a horrible injury. So, you know, he's still not at full speed, but he was much closer to it today. And I thought he deserved it.
Yeah, definitely Bentancur for me. Personally, I thought he absolutely ran the game in that Tottenham Hotspur midfield. Let's talk about the starting 11 because, of course, Romero is back today. Van der Ven was back today. The team in full, Vicario in goal, the back four of Porro, Romero, Van der Ven, Udogie, in midfield, Skip, Højbjerg and Bentancur, and then the front three of Johnson, Richarlison and Timo Werner making his debut. Subs today, Forster, Austin, Royale, Dragusin, Dorrington, Donnelly, Santiago and Brian Hill. Russ, let's come to you on the starting 11. We did a preview show with the four of us a couple of days ago. Not one of us actually got the starting 11 correct. I think it was very difficult to pick the starting 11 this week. Absolutely delighted to see Christian Romero back in the team. Delighted to see Van der Ven back in the team. Werner, of course, making his debut. Dragusin ended up coming on as a sub, making his debut. What did you make of that starting 11? Was that the starting 11 you would have gone with the players available today?
Well, yes, it is, because I did think that Kulusevski was going to play, and I'm sure that I wasn't alone there. But obviously, he would have been straight in that midfield in the centre. I did worry a lot when I saw Højbjerg and Ollie Skip in the middle. I just thought, where's a creativity? Obviously, Bentancur is a creative player, but would he be able to, you know, play that way with two inferior colleagues, albeit professional footballers? And you know, Skippy played at number 8, didn't he? And I thought he, you know, it was his best performance for some time. I have to say that because he was, you know, he was involved in the second goal, wasn't he? When he played the ball slightly behind Timo Werner, but he got the ball to him. I thought he showed a lot of tenacity, thought pretty cleverly about how he was going to use the ball. Højbjerg, for me, still infuriates me by giving the ball away too much, often in very, very simple ways. And that is why I was concerned, and he did it again today. But to have the full defence back, albeit not cooking, you know, at gas mark 10, but they will be soon, I thought was a real boost for us, really. And hopefully we can get all the others back and start playing Ange ball. But I didn't think we'd play Ange ball today, but we did actually, didn't we, really? I mean, not quite as quickly as we can play it, but overall, I thought all of them did really well.
Russ, you've mentioned Ollie Skip a couple of times. There has been a lot of criticism from Spurs fans recently on him. With the way that we used to play under the likes of Mourinho and Conte, there's been a lot of people saying that he still passes the ball sideways, backwards a lot. Do you think that Ange Postecoglou can change the way that Oliver Skip plays in certain games, and do you think he's going to improve Ollie Skip for the future?
Well, to my eyes, he has improved him a little bit because he did pass the ball quite a lot forward today. There was a few of the usuals, the easy balls and what have you. But I guess, it's schooled into them all. We keep the ball. We love the ball. We don't want to give it away. This is how, let's tire the other team out. Let's frustrate them. And Ange Ball is absolutely brilliant at doing that. And then they're bamboozled with the quickness of it all. And then bang, we've scored, That's how it works. I don't know whether he would. I think he might keep Ollie Skip as part of the squad for the rest of this season, because they've obviously identified that he was too conservative. They've evaluated in training whether he actually has the technical ability. And, he might surprise a few people. I'm still not convinced that he's good enough for this level of the Premier League. But I like what I saw from him today. And I think, we have to be fair. Give him credit when it's due.
Craig, let's come to you on the starting 11. Any surprises for you today? Romero back?
No, I was expecting actually Romero to start after everything we'd heard that he wanted to start. And Van der Ven was kind of ready, wasn't he? Surprise would be... It's not a surprise, really, that Kulusevski was left out. There was obviously a reason for it. He wasn't dropped as such, was it? He just couldn't play. So I think from the players available, I wouldn't say he was down to bare bones, but, we was one light on the bench and we had two goalies on there. So I suppose we were in many ways. So not really a massive surprise on the lineup. I'm not really sure where else he could have gone with it. I mean, he could have handed Dragusin his debut, but didn't need to today. I wouldn't have said. I think that would have been at the expense of somebody who's perhaps a midfield. It's their number one position, so to speak. So yeah, no surprises for me for the players that we got available. Chris, it was kind of needs must, I suppose.
Kim, when I saw the starting 11, I was absolutely delighted to see Mickey van der Ven and Christian Romero back, because, of course, that is a fantastic defensive partnership. Of course, Dragusin was on the bench today. By us signing Dragusin now, it shows, real depth in our squad. But your thoughts on having Mickey van der Ven and Romero back in the team today, because it gives all of us fans that huge confidence in having, that great partnership back in the starting 11.
Yeah, I think they're a great partnership. They seem to gel so quickly. I think when Romero plays with Van der Ven, it seems to calm him down somewhat. He looks a kind of different sort of character. I don't know how many bookings he picked up earlier in the season when he was playing alongside him, but I'm sure it was nowhere near that when he isn't. They just seem to gel, and it's very rare you get that, I think, with two players gelling that quickly. No, I was, I wasn't overly surprised by the actual team, but I didn't have a clue that Kulu was ill, though. That was the only surprise for me. And yeah, I mean, as Russ said, and that, I thought Skippy did well today. And but yeah, seeing that defence back, I mean, and it must be like with the goalkeeper as well. It's just great to see, that back four and Vicario there behind. It's just brilliant. It's the best I've seen for a long. Well, it's definitely. I mean, the best I've seen since the Pochettino days, the last season at White Hart Lane, when we had Jan and Toby and Rose and Walker at their finest. But to me, I think these could go on to be far, far even better than those. Really, really strong.
I've got to say, actually, in the away end today, it was absolutely exceptional, as per normal, with the Tottenham Hotspur fans, giving the team real great support. And Old Trafford, in all the times I've been to Old Trafford over the years, it was probably the most quiet. Even approaching the stadium, coming out of the stadium, whilst in the stadium, it was extremely quiet. I think that Manchester United fans are extremely frustrated by what they are seeing on the pitch and off the pitch at the moment. But they did have a good start, Russ. After 3 minutes, of course, Højlund put them 1-0 up. What did you make of the goal that we conceded?
I thought the ball eventually fell to Højlund, didn't it? And what a hit, by the way, with his left foot. I mean, it nearly took the net out, didn't it? It was a cracking goal. Vicario had absolutely no chance. It was past him before, halfway through his dive, as it were. I did think it was a little bit sloppy, but I think we have to accept that these boys need to get back into their rhythm together, this foursome, you know, and it's been very sort of disparate, hasn't it, over the last few weeks, and somehow we've managed to get through it. And I think there was a bit of confusion. There was a little bit of a lucky bounce, I think, to Hoyland, you know, came off. I think it might have come off Romero, but I could be wrong. But I thought it was a really good finish, and not really the best start, was it? And you did fear then, you know, with your fear, you know, the fears that I had about midfield in particular before the game. Oh, blimey, we're going to get overrun here. But, you know, there's something in those Vegemite sandwiches that Angie's given him at the training ground, because, you know, they're like Popeye, aren't they? 11 Popeyes. We're all getting stronger and let's go. And look what happened.
Russ, let's stay with you, because after 8 minutes, Manchester United did have another great opportunity. Ericsson corner. It went all the way through to Rashford, who ended up shooting wide. Were you surprised by this point, particularly when we've got that defence back today of Van der Ven and Romero, that Manchester United had two quite easy chances in the opening 8 minutes?
Well, yeah, I mean, it worried me, and it would have worried all of us, because, you know, the thing was that, as you say, that was the first 8 minutes or so. And then you're thinking, blimey, this is going to be a really long 82 minutes if we're not careful. But it didn't turn out that way, obviously. And I just think that the way we play football anyway, we're always going to give the opposition chances, and they've got some good players, you know, very good players. Fernandes, Marcus Rashford, Hoyland is probably going to long term do well there. You know, there's a lot of good players there, and so it's a game of football, isn't it? They get chances, we have chances. Whoever scores the most goals wins. It is that simple. But I thought we were a little bit rocky, certainly. And, you know, the second goal, I'm sure we'll come on to in a little while. I didn't think that was particularly brilliant either. But we didn't lose.
Absolutely. Craig, let's come to you. After 19 minutes, of course, Richarlison with his 6th goal in 6 Premier League games, near post header. Great delivery in. And it's so good to see Richarlison on the score sheet yet again.
Yeah, it's great header. Great header. He's a danger in the box from crosses like that. That's what surprises me, that Ainge wants from open play anyway to put low crosses in the box. I know he's got a couple from low crosses as well, but he's so good in the air. I'd like to see us put some higher balls in, because he just attacks them. Like I said the other week, a proper centre forward, attack the cross, and you get your rewards. And do you know what was strange for me? I don't know if anybody else felt this, that when we went 1-0 down, where before many, many years of watching us go to Old Trafford and come away with naffle, I wasn't bothered. I just had the feeling we was going to get back into it. I really, you know, there's no panic sort of set in me. I was just, okay, we've conceded.
I felt like that all season.
Yeah, I probably agree. Even against Chelsea, when we was down to 9, I had that sort of belief in me that we was going to get back into it. And did we have a chance to? You know, if Eric Dyer's volley had stood, I mean, who knows? But yeah, I wasn't bothered at all when we went 1-0 down today. And obviously pulled it back, and then pulled it back again. And at no point in that game was I concerned, other than McTominay's header in the last minute of the game, which I know we'll cover. But that one, as the ball come over, I thought, oh no, the curse of Old Trafford strikes again. But didn't go in. We got a draw, like Russ said, and we come away with a point, and we're still in there.
Kim, let's come to you. After 22 minutes, Timo Werner had a shot high, wide over the bar. 39 minutes gone, you doggy headed against the post. Was that lucky on our part, or was it good defending?
Well, I think he was a bit lucky. I don't think he meant to head against the post somehow. He just looked like he misjudged it to me. But you know, and then obviously just after that, Romero headed against the bar. I think obviously we improved so much defensively. You're going to be rusty. It's like, you know, I've got to start like properly a new book tomorrow. I haven't written for a while. I'm going to be rusty. It's going to take me a while to get into it. And I think that the same can be said about like our two centre halves today. You know, a little bit. They were a bit rusty at first with their first two goals, but I think they really picked it up second half. And they just look, as Craig just said, apart from that McTominay, that last minute miss, we never looked in trouble in the second half to me, you know, so credit where it's due. I think it was just rustiness and you know, obviously Van der Ven had been out longer than anyone and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, you know, I did think, I spoke to my pal Jeff Dean, so I will speak to him like through the games and that. We're always messaging one another. And like I said to him, like at half time, I said, if we can get an early goal, second half, we can go on and win this. And I truly believe that. I said, but if we go 3-1 down, I said, you know, we could be a bit in trouble. And well, neither happened in the end. So my predictions ain't great. But yeah, I think if any team was going to win it, obviously it was going to be us, Chris, you know.
Russ, let's come to you. After you doggy headed against the post, just moments later, Manchester United did take the lead through Rashford. It does seem quite odd, the fact that I think Kim alluded to this earlier, that, you know, players struggle all season. Højlund struggling with goals. Rashford struggled all season. And then, of course, they score against us in the same game. What do you make of that second goal?
I just think that it was quick feet and Rashford is a class player. I mean, it was interesting after the game. I'm sure the people who saw it on the TV coverage, for the benefit of those who didn't, they were talking about who would, out of Man United, get in the front 4 or 5 of Spurs. And the consensus was that we'd take Rashford because he's Rashford, but he wouldn't necessarily start. Such has been his form. But I did think that it was a pretty classy finish, actually. And it was a bit sort of chaotic in that penalty area again, Pedro Porro. This defending with your, I understand why defenders do it, the arms behind the back, but it's, you know, it's the handball law, isn't it? And it muddies the water. And I'm not a big fan of it, to be honest. But you know, credit where's credit due. Once again, Højlund's goal was really good, and Rashford's was a really good finish as well. You know, and it's probably done him the world of good. But yeah, I agree with Kim. You know, it's always against us, isn't it? You know, they don't do anything for months, and then here come Tottenham.
Yeah.
Always, we're so used to it. Russ, a couple of minutes later, a great ball from Oliver Skip to Timo Werner, who then shot wide. Now, there has been a lot of criticism, and I'd like to get all of your thoughts on the signing of Timo Werner. Of course, he's signed for Spurs on initial loan with an option to buy in the summer. He's come saying that he wants to win titles at Tottenham Hotspur. Russ, that chance for him just before the half-time break, he's been heavily criticised by lots of pundits and former players, etc., about his lack of goals, certainly in the Premier League in that spell at Chelsea. Surely, I don't want to be harsh on him because, of course, he got the assist for our second goal, and I think he done okay today. But surely he's got to be hitting the target in opportunities like that.
Well, it's excuse me, it's something that has plagued him, really, isn't it? As a professional footballer, whichever club that he's played for, you can get the odd moment of absolute brilliance from him. But he takes an awful lot of shots to score a goal. And that's something that Ange will know about, the coaching staff will know about, we all know about it, but it's down to Ange to try and change the way that he plays. I mean, he can run 100 meters in 11 seconds, so he's quick. So that speed is going to put the fear of God into a lot of defenders and probably get us a lot of free kicks, maybe, hopefully, a few penalties, which I don't think we've had one for a while. But, you know, he did say before the game, playing at Old Trafford, new club at Spurs, where he's been made really welcome, he was a little bit nervous. But the more the game went on, he kind of got into it. And, of course, he gave an assist, as we're going to come on to, for our second goal, our glorious equaliser. But I didn't expect him to score today. It would have been a bit of a fairy tale. He had a volley, didn't he, that he just put wide or high and wide. So I think he's going to do okay for us. I think he's a useful player to have in our attacking armoury.
Craig, your thoughts on the signing of Timo Werner and his performance today?
Yeah, as I said the other day, I think it's like many people have said, it's a low risk signing. I think it makes sense. Try before you buy. I think the buy amount is cheap if he does well, and if he doesn't, then we send him back and look elsewhere. But again, as I said many times, I love players with pace. I think he's going to grow into this team. It was his first outing in British football for 18 months or whatever it is. Coming back from injury, he would have been nervous. Hardly had 2 or 3 days to train with the team. You could see it in the first half. He was taking the easy route. As I said before, I wanted to see him go on the outside and skim players and get in crosses, and he did do that in the second half, and that's almost what it did lead to our equaliser. So he'll get there. He will get there. I must admit, when he did cut inside and I saw him lining up for that shot, there was a part of me that thought, I know exactly where this is going. As sure as Gary would smash a bag of pick and mix if it was put in front of him, you just knew that shot was going to end up in the Stretford end. So I was like, no. Even my boys were like, yeah, that's Timo Werner. But look, they'll get him working on that. What I will say about him, I was actually pleased we had somebody taking a couple of shots. You know, he had a couple of shots. Rather than overplay it like we've been used to the last few weeks, we think, just have a shot. He had a shot. All right, it went over. And one went wide, but he'd had a shot. He'll get in those positions by using his pace, and he will get better under Ange, because he will. I'm confident he will get better and get a goal soon.
Kim, what did you make of Timo Werner today, and what have you made of the signing of him? Because, as the guys have already said, I think it's a very clever signing, a very low-risk signing, and of course it gives Ange Postecoglou yet another option.
Yeah, I think exactly the same. It is a low-risk signing. We're under no obligation to buy him, as we know. He is very reasonably priced if we do choose to buy him. And if anyone can get the best out of him, it will be Ange, you know. They might have to try him. Listen, he can play a variety of positions. And I can't see him being an out-and-out goal-scorer, poacher type player for us, but he could be very useful in other ways for us. His speed is, you know, it'd be, you know, if just say, for instance, if Kulu's back against Man City, you know, it'd be a great player to bring on if you needed someone to bring on with their speed and that for the last half hour. I'm pleased we've signed him. I think, and I think he's got a point to prove in English football. I mean, I didn't remember, to be honest, even though obviously I watch a lot of football. It wasn't until we signed him that I saw everyone talking about the misses and all opposing fans putting things up and that. But I thought he did all right today. It was his first game. He's bound to be a bit nervous. I'm glad he's got that under his belt, really. And, if we need him against Man City, in the next game at home, may he feel more comfortable. He's, you can't go wrong with a signing, really. It is a try before you buy, isn't it?
Well, in stoppage time, Romero hit the crossbar. We went in 2-1 down. And then, Russ, it took us just 50 seconds before Bentancur got our equaliser. Of course, Timo Werner getting the assist, as we've mentioned already. 2 questions, Russ. What did you make of the goal? And more importantly, what do you think Ange Postecoglou said at half-time?
I think he would have said, move the ball a bit quicker, please, gentlemen. And they did. I mean, what a pass from Christian Romero. I mean, completely sort of taking out United's midfield, and then off Skippy went straight, played it to Werner. Werner just behind him, did well. Assist, 2 touches. Rodrigo, brilliant finish. Absolutely. I mean, what a goal. I mean, those fans at Old Trafford and watching on the television were treated to some really good goals today. And I include Richie's header because those are not easy to score, and that was a really good goal as well. But I thought that Christian Romero, looking up, seeing that midfield splitting pass into acres of space. I mean, the United, I forget that, was it Miano, or that the United player, he did gamble and go to the Spurs playing nearest him as opposed to in the centre of midfield. So, them's the breaks, folks. But I thought Romero's pass started that whole thing off, and it's so good to have him back because he is a brilliant, brilliant footballer. But I loved it. I thought it was a great goal, and I thought this is it. We're going to go on and win this game, and we should have done, really.
Craig, can I ask you about Pierre-Emile Højbjerg's performance today? Because it is kind of expected that Højbjerg will leave the football club soon, either in this window or the summer window. But what did you make of his performance today?
I personally didn't think he was that bad. Like Kim said, I don't think there was many players on the pitch did that badly. I thought it was an all-round pretty good team performance. You can tell, look, Højbjerg's not everybody's cup of tea, but he is professional. You can't deny that. And he'll always give you 100%. That 100% might not be good enough sometimes. But I thought he'd done okay today. Getting stuck in, I thought he was a 7 for me. I thought he was pretty solid. Didn't really do tons wrong. Just he was playing that number 6 role essentially, wasn't he? So he wasn't really driving forward that much, but he was bringing the ball out. He wasn't as good as Sarr or a Bissouma sitting in there, but I thought he'd done his job okay. Yeah. But he's not first choice anymore, and he's not an Ange player, is he? Really? But he does a job in there, and we have needed him these last few weeks.
Kim, let's come to you in the 79th minute. Brian Hill came on. Of course, Timo Werner went off. What did you make of the last 10 minutes or so of the game with Brian Hill involved? Because he's had a couple of opportunities under Ange Postecoglou, albeit a lot of them from the bench. Do you think that Brian Hill will be another player to improve under Postecoglou, or do you think that we will end up letting him go?
I think we're going to have to letting him go. I'd like him to succeed. Obviously, you want every player you sign to succeed, but there's something about Brian Hill that I think it's his physique. He just doesn't seem to me like he's going to, in different countries, yes, perhaps, where they play a different style of football, but I think the Premier League's going to be too physical. He's so slightly built, and I just don't know. I just don't think, I've been screaming for weeks, but obviously I can understand why Ange hasn't brought on Donnelly rather than Brian Hill, but, I having watched the under-23s a lot on that, I know it's hard, to bring someone like Donnelly on at Old Trafford and we're not 2 goals up or something, but having seen what Donnelly can do, I'd much rather see Jamie Donnelly come on than Brian Hill, if you get my drift. If that's all the options on the bench, I'd like him to succeed, but Brian Hill's the only one I'd say today. It just don't really. I just don't think he's going to crack it there. I don't. And I'm sorry if you're watching, Brian, but going back to what you said to Russ earlier, what did he say at half time? Can I answer that question?
Go for it, yeah.
Half time, he would have said what Big Alex said years ago. Come on, lads, you've seen them play. It's only Man United.
Love it.
Yeah.
Kim, let me come back to you on Brian Hill, because in the 86th minute, Brian Hill had the ball. He put it into the box. No one there. Whose fault is that? Players not attacking, or him not putting it in the right space?
I don't know. It's difficult to say, isn't it? Do you know? It's difficult to say, but I just listen. From what I've seen of him, obviously he hasn't had a full chance, but he has started. He has started some games, hasn't he? Do you know what I mean? He's just. I think that hasn't he started a couple of games this season, or have I got that wrong?
He's had limited opportunities under Ange, but
the problem with that, you've got to try and take these opportunities, like when you come on, listen, Ange must trust him somewhat to keep bringing him on. So let's just hope. I'd love to be proved wrong. I really would, he seems a likeable guy, and I'd love to be proved wrong, but he just seems, I think it's his physique, and he just seems too slight and easily knocked off the ball for me,
Russ, I wanted to talk a little bit about Destiny Udogie, because many pundits have come out and said that he's the best left back in the Premier League right now. I thought it was another outstanding performance from him. And how much more do you think we can get from him?
Well, I mean, he's young. I think he doesn't know everything about the game of football, but he's learning very quickly. I mean, I think realistically, he would get in any team in the Premier League in his position right now. And that's way ahead of schedule to where we all thought he was going to be. I think it was right at the beginning of the season. We were talking, you and I, Chris, and your guests, and, we were saying he's definitely going to be one of the best fullbacks in the world someday. Well, he's on the way towards that already, isn't he? Incredible. He's got pace. He's got skill. He's got vision. He's fearless. He can tackle without drawing too many cards. He can play the ball into dangerous areas. You're just as likely to see him in the opposition penalty area than ours as well. I mean, him and Porro, I think, have been an absolute revelation under Ange, and they're completely different players, aren't they? They both have completely different skill sets, but the way they fit into the team is absolute genius.
Russ, right at the end of the game, Radu Dragusin, of course, our second signing of the January transfer window, came on for Oliver Skipp. What have you made of the signing of Dragusin? Because, of course, this is very clear that Ange wanted a centre-back in, and this is the man that he wanted. What have you made of the signing?
Well, Ange wanted him. Ange got him. He wanted to come to the club. I mean, I do think his agent was a bit not the brightest after he put pen to paper and had joined the club. Yeah, well, it's almost like he's passing through for 2 or 3 seasons. I don't think the player would have been very happy about that. And maybe, let's give him the benefit of the doubt, it was lost in translation. I suspect it wasn't. So I don't think that was particularly good, but we all know what agents are like. Sorry to all those agents who might be dipping into this fine program that Chris runs. But I think that he is a stopper. He's a tough player. I don't really know that much about him, not having watched Genoa every week for the last 2 seasons. So I'm not going to lie. But everything I hear about him from people who do watch a lot of Italian football and Romanian football say that he is potentially another really good player. And that's obviously why Ange wanted him. And I was really pleased he got his debut today. He didn't put a foot wrong, did he either? Brilliant.
It's great to see both signings in nice and early in the January transfer window. And, of course, as you just said, Russ, both of them straight involved, in our very next game. Craig, what have you made of the signing of Dragusin? And I think the thing that is really important for me as a Spurs fan is to see that Ange Postecoglou is making the decisions, bringing in the players that he wants.
And that's the key, isn't it? Not club bought players, not as Conte called them, a club signing. He's got the 2 players in that he wanted so far. We'll perhaps come on to the 3rd later in the transfer window, but he clearly wanted. Well, yeah, I'm sure he would have wanted Todibo or whatever his name was, but he wasn't just. You just can't get some players no matter what. I think it's a clever signing. Dragusin looks like he can play either side of centre back, even though was he there today? Where was he playing when he came? He was playing CDM, wasn't he? Centre midfield almost, wasn't he, when he came on?
Well, to be honest, Craig, we're riddled with injuries. Of course, Van der Ven went off as well. So, it's just fitting in wherever you can.
I think, well, that's what I thought. I thought, where is he actually playing? And he was obviously sitting deep. He wasn't going forward. But, I just think it's a good signing. As Russ said, the agent's talk was a bit daft. I hope CAA base pick him up, to be honest with you. They seem to have a lot of players at Tottenham. It's probably best to be away from him. But, it's just the agent bigging up the player. And, it's early days. He had two sessions with the team, if that. So I really want to see him have a start. And then I don't think you can judge him until a month down the line to see how good he is. Like Russ said, I haven't watched much Italian football, if any. I've only seen YouTube clips of him, so it'll take him a few weeks to settle in. But what he is good, I love, like you said, Chris, is the fact Ange throws these players in rather than under Poch, one of the criticisms of him was it seemed to be months before he would trust players, whereas Ange says, well, go on, we signed you, go and play. And I think that's fantastic, you know. So, you know, he may even maybe get a start against City, who knows?
Kim, let's come to you on Radu Dragusin and the way that Spurs are conducting themselves in this January transfer window, bearing in mind that no other Premier League club seem to be doing business, and Spurs have got 2 in already. How impressed are you by the way that the club are acting at the moment?
Well, I am impressed. You know, Chris, that one of my biggest criticisms of Daniel Levy is the way we leave things. We gamble until the last day of the window. It really, like, you know, I'm allowed to say pisses me off, because it does, and it has done for many years. I don't think you can afford to gamble like that when you're running a bit, you know, a club such as Spurs, and it's let us down so many times in the past when we either haven't got the players we went for. I think to bring them in, well, it's just good to see Daniel and Enoch backing a manager for once, because Ange has earned that in the short time he's been there. He deserves to be backed. He came out publicly 3 times and said he needs these players. Obviously, he needs these players because of the African nations and like the injuries we've got. And he's got them early, which is good. I mean, who knows whether we'd have secured a draw today if he hadn't bought those players. You don't know. It makes all the difference. We would literally have been bare bones then, wouldn't we? You know. So, yeah, I am impressed that he's gone early for once and done it. I mean, I should imagine if we do bring in a midfielder, that might be a sort of late signing. But once you've got the 2 you particularly needed, I think, and obviously with Sonny away, we needed someone to sort of cover there. If we bring in a midfielder then later in the window, you know, it's not so bad, is it? But yeah, I am impressed with the way the club's done business this time. And credit to Daniel Levy for backing. He's got to learn by his previous mistakes of not backing Poch, not freshening the squad. And hopefully, you know, maybe he might have learned by it now. Who knows, you know? But you're never going to win or be successful until you learn by previous mistakes.
Kim, it does kind of prove, though, that it's not just about spending money. It is about identifying the right players and the recruitment process being absolutely right for the football club. Because when you look at players like Ndombele, you know, a record signing, Lo Celso, you know, he's out injured at the moment, but we've had very little from him since signing him. £100 million combined on those 2 players. Yeah. It's not necessarily sometimes about the money, is it?
No, it's not about it. It's, as I touched on earlier, it's identifying the right people to fit in that squad, personality-wise, workmanship-wise, people that it's not just all about the skill. And Dembele's got skill, but he hasn't got the get up and go to go with it. It's about identifying players who want to improve. Look at the comments Vicario comes out with about, and the way he's dropped down leagues and worked his way up because he wanted to play. Someone like that you can't help but be impressed with. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's what Andrew's going for. Like, you know, he's going for players who he knows will fit in. You want a happy dressing room, you know. You don't want divas in there. You don't want someone who thinks they're better than anyone else. You want a happy dressing room where everyone's working and pulling together. And I think that's the aim there, and it's great to see.
Russ, how does it make you feel as a Spurs fan when the likes of Vicario come out and say, I would have signed in blood and I would have walked to England to sign for Spurs? I'm so excited.
Well, I mean, it's lovely to hear, really, isn't it? Because over the years, we can all think of a few players that played for us who couldn't wait to get out the door. You know, it's nice that the yin and the yang of transfers and players' personalities is shifting our way a little bit. Dragusin said the same. He wanted to come to Spurs. I mean, the Premier League, let's be absolutely clear, is a big attraction for a lot of these players as well. I mean, I agree with everything that Kimberley said there. Couldn't have put it better myself. The only thing where I think now we've got this football department who are obviously working with the board and the chairman, and it all seems to be going very well at the moment. The only area that I hope they really put a little bit of effort into, more effort, is domestic homegrown players. Because you need them as part of your quotas anyway, obviously, for squads and what have you. but homegrown talent. And there will be people watching now and listening, and they'll say, well, Brennan Johnson, they've done that. Absolutely. Absolutely. We might come on to him in a minute, maybe, Chris, but you do need homegrown players and clever scouts who can unearth these little gems before other people do, and that's not easy. So I hope we get involved in that as well as the international side of things, bringing in non-UK players.
Yeah, let's go there, Craig. What did you make of Brennan Johnson today, and what have you made of him so far in a Spurs shirt?
I think he's a young kid with still loads to give, to be honest with you, looking at the whole. I don't think he was brilliant today, but you can see there's a player in there. I don't think we can expect too much. I think we got lucky when we signed Dele Alli. I think he was a phenomenon at that sort of age. He kind of burst onto the scene, Michael Richards style, didn't he? He was just phenomenal in that first season. And Brennan Johnson's, you can tell there's a player in there. People, because I see people on Twitter get him out of the club, writing him off. No. There is a player in there. He didn't have his best game today. I don't think he's seen the best of Brennan Johnson at all in any game, to be honest with you. I think he's been good in spells, but I think his final ball's got to be a bit better sometimes. He has got a few assists already, and I think that's only going to improve. So I think it was a good signing. You got to be paying 10-15 million pound more for a homegrown player anyway. So you could say we paid over the odds for him, but that is kind of the going rate for a young, locally trained talent. I think a lot of clubs are going to be struggling with fair play money. There'll be a lot around. Spurs aren't in that bracket. I think Villa are in danger of that. Manchester United, Arsenal, Chelsea. You could name loads. We are not in that sort of camp where we've got to sell players before we can buy. So people can slag off Daniel leaving the club all you want, but we are on a brilliant financial footing, and we haven't been silly. But you look at players like you say, just going back to what you said about Ndombele and Lo Celso. Lo Celso, yeah, he's had a couple of good games, but if I could go back in time and tell the club don't sell him, and I had any say in it, I think probably most of us would say don't sign either of them, because it's been an unmitigated disaster with Ndombele, a club record signing, and it's just embarrassing, really. And I think if Galatasaray take him off our hands in the summer, I think we've had a touch, to be honest with you. And Brennan Johnson cost, 10 and a bit million less than Ndombele. I've probably seen more out of Brendan Johnson than we saw out of Ndombele towards the end. So, it's a shame, because I thought he had one of the most naturally gifted players I've ever seen. He just don't want to play football, it seems. Don't want to put the effort in. And that is never going to work in an Ange team, is it? So it's a shame. But coming back to locally trained players, I agree. I'd love to see a couple of other kids coming through the academy and getting into that first team, like Harry Kane, like Ollie Skip, Harry Winks did. So yeah, I think it's important we keep that up and pushing the Donnellys and Dorringtons of this world. And it looks like Josh Keeley's doing well. He started the last 2 games, and somebody else got their debut. I can't remember, the names escape me, that went on loan. Ashley Phillips, thank you, Chris. Yeah, he got man of the match, didn't he, for Plymouth? So, yeah, they seem to love him already down there. But it just goes to show, doesn't it? We've got some good youngsters coming through. And I've said for a while that Josh Keeley is a fantastic keeper. He's definitely one to watch for the future. I hope they offer him a decent contract, because I really do think he's going to be a really good keeper. Well, he is a good keeper, but he's only young, and that's the sort of talent we want to keep hold of.
Kim, we've seen a lot recently that Jamie Donnelly and Alfie Dorrington have been on the bench. Alfie Dorrington is yet to make his first team debut for the club. Donnelly's come on a couple of times. Do you think that they will get opportunities under Postecoglou from now until the end of the season in the Premier League? Or do you think that the club may think about loaning one or both of them out in this January window?
I don't think they'll loan them out in the January window, not unless all our players suddenly come back. I don't think they can afford to. Look at our bench today. I think they will get a chance under Postecoglou. Whether it's this season or not, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? But I think they'll be part of the first team squad now, and probably remain on the bench, the two of them. It's I mean, he would have, like, if he was going to start them or something, he'd have, maybe in games where if we were a couple of 3 goals up or something like that, with 10 minutes to go, he may bring them on and whatever. But as I said, I would be bringing Donnelly on instead of Brian Hill if it were me. But listen, Ange knows what he's doing. Do you know what I mean? I'm not knocking the manager. Maybe he just doesn't want to throw the lad in at the deep end or something. Maybe, you don't know, do you, what his thoughts are? But yeah, Dorrington, he hasn't. But maybe there will be a game where we're a couple of goes up and he brings Dorrington on for his debut. But I very much doubt they'll play a massive part this season. But I can't see him going out on loan either, if I'm honest. Not with. I mean, maybe now Dragusin's come in, whether he'll let Dorrington go out on loan in January. I can't see him letting Donnelly go out on loan.
Russ, let's come to you and let's go back to the game. In the 87th minute, Van der Ven went off, and Postecoglou has confirmed, by the way, that he's not injured. It was just cramp. Emerson Royale came on. In the 95th minute, Højlund missed a point-blank header. Does that make this result 2-2 seem like a good result for us when he missed that clear-cut chance?
Yeah, maybe. I think it was Scott McTominay actually who missed the header. I think.
Fair enough. The away end is quite a way away.
Oh well, is that your excuse? I mean, look, we were sleeping a bit at the back there. We were nearly over the line. All he had to do was head it down. Easier said than done when you don't play football at that level. And I think we would have been in trouble. And it would have just been the moment where all of us just went, it always happens at this ground. They are so lucky. But it was good that he missed. They didn't deserve to win. So I was very happy about that. But it was a bit heart and mouth, wasn't it, though? You know, when the ball was going over and you're thinking, oh, God, he's unmarked. No. But anyway.
I just related a miss with Højlund, Russ. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Russ, let's come on to talk about our next game, because there is now a 12-day break. Our next game is, of course, in the FA Cup. It is in the 4th round. We have been drawn against the champions, Manchester City. Postecoglou went strong against Burnley in the 3rd round, which was great to see. Hopefully, and I think he's going to have to go strong in this game to get a result. Hopefully, James Maddison will be back. Manchester City have now found form. Of course, they won their game in style yesterday at Newcastle. Kevin De Bruyne, masterclass. What do you make of this draw against Manchester City? Because when we look at the stats, they've played 5 times at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We've won all 5 games and they haven't even scored a goal. How difficult is it going to be to get through this game in order to get through to the 5th round? And bearing in mind, we haven't won this trophy since 1991. Is this going to be Tottenham's year?
Well, you'd like to think so, and say goodbye to the long tunnel that Ange talks about. I mean, the guys were saying at the start of the show, we can beat anybody with our first 11 in that league, in the Premier League. And, I don't think Manchester City yet are the Manchester City that turned on the afterburners after Christmas last year. They may be, but then they don't have that look about them. Haaland probably, fingers crossed, won't be fit, although maybe our defenders would prefer to play against him. What about Bob? What a fantastic goal that was. Talk about good feet. I mean, and this is the thing, they've got some cracking young players. But we can beat them. They can beat us. And I just have a feeling in front of our passionate fans, under the lights, the FA Cup, live on telly, I think we've got a hell of a chance of knocking them out. I really do. And would they be really upset about it, City, if they were knocked out? No, don't think so.
Russ, how has life changed for you since we last won the FA Cup in 1991? Because that is an incredible stat, isn't it? It feels so long ago.
Well, I'm still alive, which is a good thing. Still working, still enjoying life. Still not, Craig, scoring as low at golf as I'd like to, but that's a beautiful game, isn't it? It's. I just feel it's time that really in the next season or two we've got to win the FA Cup again. I mean, we've been hijacked by some of these other clubs who won it more than us. You remember years ago it was us who had the record. So life hasn't really changed much. It's still positive, and I honestly believe that we can beat Man City. I'm quietly confident.
What does the FA Cup mean to you, though, Russ? Because a lot of the younger people, it's all about top four. But if I was to ask you, if you had the choice, Spurs to finish in the top four and play Champions League football, or win the FA Cup this year, what would you choose?
Well, I'd say both, please. But I think because of the trophy drought and where we probably at the start of the season expected to be, which was probably 5th or 6th. That's what we were thinking. Now, of course, it's like we've got to get Champions League and top four. I would have chosen at the beginning of the season the FA Cup, because I've got so many memories about watching it growing up, and what an event it was. Youngsters today don't have that to enjoy like we had all those years ago, where the whole day from breakfast right the way through to the post-match interviews on television, to free-to-air television, was the FA Cup. And I remember 81, in the morning of the 81 Cup final, the first game, Tottenham Man City. My dad came with this magical box, and he said, I've just got a video recorder. And we videotaped the game, Motti on commentary, and of course it ended 1-1 and it went to a replay. But to actually be able to sit down and watch the game again, what is this kind of witchcraft? So that's one of my memories of the FA Cup. But of course I remember other clubs playing in the FA Cup, the brutal Leeds-Chelsea final in the replay in 1970. I was very, very small then. Coming forward, our tedious win over QPR, where we won the cup. It doesn't matter how you get over the line. If you're in the final, Spurs, let's win it, please.
Craig, what does the FA Cup mean to you? And do you think that Ange Postecoglou, in every round that we are going to be in this competition this year, will go extremely strong and go all out to win this cup and try and put the trophy in the cabinet, which has been such a long wait for us?
Yeah, I like to think he will. Hope we're in it more than just one more round, to be honest with you. But it's going to be a tough test. But we've proved before. We got the beating of City, although we have had Son every time, and he, as many have said, he seems to be their main tormentor in chief. So it's going to be tough without Sonny. But we can do it. I think we can do it. What does the FA Cup mean to me? As I've said before, he's very much the same as Russ. I think we're a similar vintage. I don't really, I know Spurs won in 81 and 82. If I'm honest, I don't remember much else about the game, certainly in 81, other than Ricky Villa's goal. The FA Cup, I remember watching first, I think it was 85, 86, something like that, when Everton played Liverpool. And I remember Gary Lineker scored, and then Liverpool went on to win. I think it was 85. Then I remember in 87, obviously we lost that final, even though we were massive favourites. And then obviously the 91 season when we won it. And, it was the day in the sporting calendar, because, we didn't have all these channels. We had, I'm not sure when Channel 5 came on air, but I think we certainly only had 4, to watch. And having sport wasn't as big on television as it is now, and it was I think growing up we had the boat race, Wimbledon, and the FA Cup final, so you didn't really have much else to choose from, and a few highlights of the golf every now and then. But the FA Cup was just fantastic growing up. It was the cup to win, and it's sad that the Champions League has kind of taken that over in European competition. And obviously, you asked me the other time, has life changed for me? Yes, I did. Well, I think I was starting to lose my hair in '91. To be honest with you, I mean, I did definitely have more hair. I think I was a virgin as well. So yes, I managed to have 2 kids since then. But buy houses, buy 2 houses, buy cars, and God, so much has changed. It's just incredible when you look back. It's a long time ago. Far too long. It's just ridiculous. If you'd said to me in May 91, oh, okay, in the future, I'm from 2024 and Spurs haven't won the FA Cup, I wouldn't have believed you, because we'd won it 8 times then. We were the record holders of winning the FA Cup, and we've been surpassed by the mob down the road and the Manchester Uniteds of this world. So long overdue. I just loved for us to win the FA Cup. It just means so much.
That's the great thing about this podcast. You never ever know what you're going to learn.
There you go. I was 17. I was how old was I? I was 17. I was 17. So yeah.
Kim, we better come to you quickly. What does the FA Cup mean to you?
I remember them all so clearly. I mean, I was really a massive Tottenham fan when we played Man City. I wasn't allowed to go. My mum used to tell me if I'd have chosen West Ham, which was only like 7 stops away on a train, she'd have let me go football. But because I chose Spurs, I wasn't allowed to go. I was at the games the season after. But I remember, do you remember all the players' wives and that being on there as well? They used to have the whole day. And there was all the players' wives on there chatting, which you never see any of now. Yeah, I remember, obviously I watched it indoors. My dad, who was a gooner, and I remember the first game, which wasn't a classic, but that second game, I think was it on a Thursday night? I can't remember. Yeah. Was it on night or Thursday night, the replay? Yeah, I can't remember.
I think it was Thursday.
Yeah, I remember it like it was yesterday, the goals and going mad. And then the following year, I was allowed to go over Spurs and I got my ticket. I went to the QPR finals, which wasn't... I remember turning up there with... I'm allowed to swear on here, aren't I, Chris? I remember turning up on there because it was in the days of when you used to wear the scarves around your wrist and everything else. I had the old butcher's coats on. Do you remember the butcher's coats? And I had crooks down one sleeve, the white butcher's coats that everyone used to write over. Do you remember those? Anyone remember those?
Yeah.
No.
All right, no, back in the day, in those days, when you got the FA Cup final, you used to get a white butcher's coat, what the butcher would use to chop up the meat. And you used to decorate it yourself. I remember having crooks down one sleeve, Archibald down the other. And I remember me and my mate, an old bed sheet it was, we made a flag. And it was Peter Ucker in goal for them at the time, for QPR. And we put Ucker as a fucker and we got made to take it down in the middle of Wembley. But those were days, they were the good old days, And then obviously it wasn't classics, the QPR games. There was the replay of that. But there was a replay for the QPR game as well, wasn't there? Are you listening, everybody?
He's reeling.
Yeah. But then obviously I was at the Coventry final as well, and I remember losing that, and the Milk Cup final against Liverpool when Ronnie Whelan popped up late on. So I was lucky enough as a Spurs fan to go to a lot of finals. Would love to do it again this year. Would love to do it with Big Ange, But and I fancy our chances against City Friday night under the lights. Do you know what I mean? Why not? I do. I think we're in with a shout. If we get past City, I think we'll go all the way.
I agree with that, Kim. I really do. Now, before I get your score predictions for the Manchester City game in the FA Cup fourth round, let's hear from former Manchester City goalkeeper Nicky Weaver. Of course, he played in goal for them between 1997 and 2007. Let's get his thoughts ahead of the game.
Hi Chris and everyone at the Spurs Chat podcast. It's Nicky Weaver here, former Man City keeper. Hope you're all doing well. Obviously the season so far, City, I think there's 2 points behind Liverpool at the moment. I think it will go to the wire. I do think City will come out on top and win the Premier League. I just think with all the experience, all the players, whatever situation they find themselves in, you know, the manager and all the players and staff, they've all been in this situation before. As we've seen last year, Arsenal, you know, pushed them all the way, but sort of fell at the final hurdle, and City ended up winning it, and I think that'll be the case again. I just think City, you know, just a little bit stronger. They've got that nous and the know-how to sort of go on and win the Premier League. Tottenham are doing fantastic this year. Obviously, Postecoglou's come in, you know, the fans love him. It looks like all the players love him. He's really sort of galvanised the whole club. They're doing absolutely fantastic. I just think they're going to come up short this year in the title race. I just don't think they've got enough experience. But they're great to watch. I think they're everyone's almost sort of second team now, aren't they? And I think that's a lot to do with the manager. Obviously, everyone really likes him. He's done terrific. So, yeah, interesting game. You know, Tottenham City. Personally, you know, I've got my Man City hat on. I think City will come out on top. But it's going to be very difficult. You know, I don't think City have won at the new stadium. Not even sure if they've scored a goal at the new stadium. So yeah, so it's going to be an evenly matched contest. But I do feel that City are just going to have enough, you know, to go on and win, and then hopefully that can kickstart onto, you know, something really special. Obviously, last season was a massively special season for the club. The treble, they sort of did. You know, the Champions League and everything, it was beyond everyone's wildest dreams. So, yeah, really difficult to follow last season for City. But I think they can do it. And I think, you know, I don't really think they've got going yet in the Premier League. Obviously, De Bruyne coming back is a huge thing. Haaland coming back, Doku now back as well. So, hopefully the second half of the season, they're going to march. And we've seen it many, many times when City can go on these runs, you know, win 10-12 on the spin. You know, absolutely. Hopefully they can do that again. And yeah, I personally think they're going to win the title. I think Tottenham are going to come up a little bit short. So yeah, but listen, I had 10 wonderful years at City. Loved every minute of it. Obviously the club's so different to what it was when I played, and it's amazing to see, you know, how far the club's come in a relatively short space of time. But yeah, if I could pick one moment from my City career, it'd be the playoff final against Gillingham at Wembley. The penalty shootout, absolutely, you know, fantastic memories for me personally. I think everyone connected with City has got fantastic memories of that day. It's 25 years this year, the anniversary of that, and you know, on one hand it feels a lifetime ago, but on the other hand it only feels like yesterday. So yeah, I love my time at City. I wish I could do it all again, but yeah, I had 10 great years there and I loved every minute of it. But yeah, I think, you know, going back to Tottenham, Vicario's coming this year, obviously big boots to fill. Hugo Lloris leaving after, you know, 10-11 years of fantastic service, brilliant goalkeeper. It was great to see him get a great send-off the other week as well. But I think Vicario's come in, obviously really good with the ball at his feet. He's made some big saves in big games. So yeah, I think he's now in the Italian squad as well. So he's done fantastic. And yeah, he's done brilliant for Tottenham this year. So hopefully, you know, he has a long and successful time at Tottenham. But once again, lads, thank you very much. Hope the game is a good one, and hopefully it goes Man City's way as well. Okay, lads, see you later. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Russ, let's come to you. Nicky Weaver, of course, hopes that it will go Manchester City's way. What is your score prediction for this FA Cup tie at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium? 3 last questions for you all on this podcast. Score prediction for the Manchester City game.
Yeah.
Where you think Spurs will finish in the league at the end of the season, and will win the FA Cup, yes or no?
I think we will beat City 2-1 in the FA Cup. I think Tottenham will finish 3rd in the Premier League. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's 1st, but I think it'll be 3rd. And what was the last question, Chris?
Will we win the FA Cup, yes or no?
If we beat City, yes. I agree with Kim and you. Yeah, I think we go all the way.
Wow, love it. Craig?
I think City will score their first goal at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But I think we will win 3-2. I think it will be a high-scoring game. Might even be 4-3, something like that. I think it's going to be end-to-end. I think it's going to be a fantastic game. But I think Spurs will edge it. And the FA Cup, I think I'm in agreement with Russ. I think if we beat City, we're going to go all the way. And as for the Premier League, let's dream big. I think No, I think we're going to finish third. Actually, I think we're just going to squeak third. We're a shout for second, but I think we'll end up third.
What about you, Kim?
The Man City game, my prediction's 3-2 as well. I think it's going to be high scoring as well. I'll say 3-2. Where we're going to finish in the league, I've got to say third as well. I think, but the most important thing, well, not most important because I want to win the league, but we will be in front of the Gooners because it will be Liverpool and City that are above us. And the FA Cup, I think if we beat City, we'll go all the way. I think we'll go all the way with it. What is there to fear with, if we beat City and we've got big hands, we've got our players coming back, there's nobody to fear. Home or away. And it's nice
Kim,
to be
I've got to... Yes, it is great to be positive. I'll tell you what, I agree with every single comment that you have just come out with there. Kim, thank you so much for coming on. And I feel like we're all happy clappers on this podcast this evening, and it's great to get your thoughts, and it's great to hear everyone so positive about Ange and the way that this club is moving and the way that we're doing things at the moment. So it's great to see and it's great to hear. Kim, what are you up to at the moment? Where can people find you?
I'm up to at the moment. I've got my new book coming out, which is the sequel. It's called The Brothers. It's the sequel to my last book, The Family Man. It comes out March the 14th. So I'm going to be really busy with touring. They can find me on Facebook, Instagram. Yeah, just the normal. It's not called Twitter anymore. I don't even know what it's called, but they can find me on there as well. Yeah, so I've got a new book coming out 14th of March, and I'm just about to start the last in the series of that. So,
have you got book signings coming out as well? Book signings going on?
Yeah, I normally do a tour. I normally go up and down the country. I don't quite know what's going on with it yet because my normal publicist is on maternity leave. So I've got a new publicist. I'm not sure what sort of tour, but I normally go sort of Scotland, Manchester, Liverpool, and all that. I'll go on tour, it's like a KC on tour thing. But it's exciting because I've not had a book out for a couple of years there, so I'm really excited about it. It's a good book and all. So,
well, best of luck with that, Kim. Thank you so much for coming on, and we look forward to having you on again very soon. Russ, thank you so much for coming back, and it's so nice that everyone is so positive. Where can people do?
I will be Nation Radio tomorrow morning from 11 o'clock. Nation 80s from 6 a.m. 2 shows in one morning. So if you love 80s, DAB online on the app, the Nation Player, do tune in and come back to the greatest musical decade ever. And that'll be on Nation Radio in Wales, Scotland, all over London from 11. And I shall be sitting down after that and narrating my audio books. I do a lot of, Chris. I've just literally had one published that I did for an author in the Peak District about Detective John Gammon. Little mysteries like Morse with Attitude, and that's just been published on Audible. So I'm doing 3 books at the moment, narrating. So Kimberley, if you want somebody to narrate your book, have a word with me.
You've got a great voice for narrating, actually.
I do loads of them.
Cockney villains. You're not Cockney enough for mine.
Oh, yeah, I can, love. I'll be bloody Cockney if I want to.
We'll keep you in mind, mate. We'll keep you in mind.
I hope it goes well.
Thank you very much.
I think that was a polite no, Russ.
It was. But, you can't win the FA Cup, maybe win the Premier League and narrate Kim's book, can you?
Well, Russ, thanks so much for joining us, and pleasure having you back
mate.
on.
Thank you for asking.
Craig, thanks so much. Where can people find you?
Yeah, on X, if you want to give me a follow, it'd be nice at Dearman9. I'm as common as shit, Kim, so you can always get me to voice something if you want. I'm available for a very small fee. I don't charge much. But can I just say, the club, we've covered it before, but the club, the board, Daniel Levy especially, gets so much stick. I'll probably get stick for saying this, but fair play to them for whether it be learning, listening, whatever it is. They seem to finally get it and going in the right direction. So if you're going to criticise, you've got to give them credit where it's due. And I think they're doing a really good job at the moment. Long may it continue back in the manager, because it kind of proves that it works. We're in this great position. We're in a great position financially. We've got to build in a fantastic squad. We've got a good feeling around the club. Suddenly everything seems a bit different, and things, dare I say it, seem to be coming together. we've been through some dark times, but hopefully we're on the way up and the way back, and hopefully we'll get a trophy over the line. But where you criticise, you've got to say kudos and well done for certain things, and I just wanted to say that because I think that it's fully deserved at the moment.
Well said. Kim, did you want to add anything to that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've been, I think Daniel's done a wonderful job for the club overall with the stadium and that, but us fans don't go to football to look at a pretty stadium or eat nice food. We go there to watch a winning side, and he has made a cock up with the last couple of managers. There's no two ways about that. And he also made a cock up when Poch was there by not backing him. Let's hope he's learnt his lesson. I praised him earlier. He has got the signings in early, and you've got to learn by your mistakes in life. And let's hope that Daniel has learned, and because if we lose this manager, we don't even want to think about it, because Ange is one of the best things to happen to Spurs in all the years I'm supporting them. So let's just keep Ange happy and we'll go from there. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, credit to him bringing the players in early. But that's his job at the end of the day, isn't it? You can't gamble the last out of window, end off.
You're sounding like Roy Keane now, Kim. But hopefully we can get a trophy or two in before Ange eventually leaves the football club. But yeah, there is a good feeling.
Why would he want to leave?
Exactly. There's a good feeling right now. We're all happy clapping. Let's hope that the happy clapping does continue, and let's hope that we can lift the FA Cup. And it starts a week on Friday against Manchester City in the fourth round of the FA Cup. And thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks so much for all of the support on the podcast, as usual. I'll be back tomorrow, as I'll be talking to Ryan Taylor, sports journalist with the Daily Mirror, to give us an update on all of the transfer news involving Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. So hopefully see you there. But until the next time, come on you Spurs, and thank you so much.